years, Xbox and PlayStation felt like rival kingdoms, loyal fans locked to ecosystems, and exclusive games used as weapons in the never-ending console war. But given they've been forced out of solely focusing on hardware and just seem more interested in software, I mean, look at Game Pass, Xbox really does seem like it's warming up to the idea of reaching out to including other consoles in their games. We're talking Nintendo Switch, of course PC, and even PlayStation. Smaller titles like Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded were the first to test the waters. Now, iconically green IPs like Forza and soon even Gears of War are also making the move. This change-up isn't just goodwill, it's of course still business. More platforms mean more players, more revenue, and better returns. On this list, we're talking about everything from hidden gems that deserve a second life to iconic classics that would, let's face it, sell like absolute hotcakes if they migrated over. So here are 10 stellar Xbox games, why we want them to make the jump, and how likely we reckon it is that it's actually gonna happen. Let me know your picks down in that comment box. I'm Jess from More Culture, and here are 10 Xbox exclusives that must come to PS5.
It's more important than ever to get yourself a VPN. With NordVPN, you can protect your data and keep up with region-locked TV and content. Best of all, you can get signed up for 2 years of Nord with an up to 76% discount and 4 months off, plus a $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is click the link below or scan the QR code on screen now to make the most of this great deal.
Number 10. Halo series. Halo is the Xbox franchise, with Master Chief being the console equivalent of what a mustachioed Italian plumber is to Nintendo. It's the reason some players bought an Xbox in the first place. From iconic multiplayer to Master Chief's legendary campaign, its absence on PlayStation has been felt for over 2 decades. From Sony fans who grew up hearing about the fabled Blood Gulch, the Halo series absolutely is what Sony fans would love to see make it over from the green stable, perhaps before anything else. It would have once been unthinkable that it could come over to PlayStation, but with Xbox pivoting from hardware to ecosystem, Gears and Forza warming up the crowd feels like it's kind of the pre-show. The writing's on the wall, and it's a question of when instead of if as far as we're concerned, but let me know what you reckon. The only mystery element for us is we're pondering what format it's going to take. Master Chief Collection seems like the natural fit, but persistent rumors have already swirled about a remastered Combat Evolved hitting Sony's console first, with the rest to follow piecemeal. If it's dollars thereafter, that approach does seem like it could make the most sense. Watch this space then for gamers' brains imploding as they get to play as Master Chief with a DualShock. Number 9. Starfield. Bethesda RPGs are a cultural event, and Starfield had the hype of a galactic supernova. It promised exploration, choice, and scale on an interstellar level. But PlayStation players were left watching from the sidelines as Xbox claimed this one as an exclusive while the ink dried on the Bethesda buyout. Then, of course, the launch was rocky and momentum fizzled. With it being seen as something of a misstep for the legendary studio, the appeal for PS5 gamers getting a hold of the refined version could be the reset button the game needs. It does seem massively likely as well. Xbox bet big on Starfield being a killer app, and it didn't quite hit the mark. Microsoft knows the brand deserves a longer tail. Releasing it on PlayStation would not only help recoup some of that lost potential, it'd give Bethesda a win when, let's face it, they kinda really need one right now. Port rumors have been circulating for months from pretty reliable sources, as well as, of all things, an error on a modding page. A second launch on new hardware might be just the redemption arc Starfield is waiting for. Number 8. More Gears and Forza. Forza Horizon 5 hitting PS5 was a quiet revolution. It climbed the charts instantly, proving there's a huge appetite for Xbox's premier racing series beyond its home turf. More entries, whether it's Xbox digging into the backlog to see if they want to pull something out for a remaster or just aligning all new releases to be on both consoles, seems like a no-brainer. Then, of course, there's Gears of War. With Gears Reloaded confirmed for PlayStation, it's a seismic moment. For series veterans, the real magic of the series is in Gears 2 and 3, both ripe for a next-gen upgrade. And even Xbox gamers have been waiting a whole console generation for that one. It'd prime Sony's gamer stable for the upcoming Gears E-Day release as well. Forza feels like a sure thing since its success speaks for itself. Gears, though, is trickier. If Reloaded underperforms, Microsoft might hesitate, with it already shuffling its feet on refreshing the rest of the 360 trilogy. But if it lands strongly, expect the rest of the collection to follow. These massive green franchises crossing the boundary to no longer being console exclusives is a sign that Xbox is clearly well and truly comfortable with being a third-party studio, and that's an exciting thing for gamers. Number 7, Blue Dragon / Lost Odyssey. Born from the Xbox 360's big swing at the Japanese market, Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey were cult favorite JRPGs which deserved more than the obscurity they fell into. With big names like Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu behind them, these games had serious pedigree. Unfortunately, they were stranded on a console that never really took off in Japan, so it sort of missed out on that whole JRPG-loving PlayStation crowd. Today, with turn-based games in resurgence and PS5 players hungry for meaty classic-style RPGs, these two would absolutely thrive. Remakes, remasters, even straight ports, anything would be welcome. But that said, it kinda seems unlikely. Both gaps are trapped behind licensing headaches, which is always one of the main problems, and it doesn't seem like Microsoft is too interested in digging back that far to bring something new out. That said, the company keeps promoting its commitment to game preservation and expanding reach. If Xbox truly wants to win goodwill, these hidden gems are a great way to do it. Stranger things have happened, and with enough fan demand, this resurrection isn't entirely out of the question. Just maybe don't hold your breath. Yet. Number 6, Avowed. A first-person high fantasy RPG from Obsidian should have been a slam dunk. Xbox players love deep, lore-heavy games like Skyrim, Elden Ring, and Dragon's Dogma. Avowed does check all those boxes. Unfortunately, it was kind of buried underneath these other really high-ticket releases that came out on Game Pass at the same time. We're talking Oblivion Remastered and Clair Obscure, which were total slam dunks, and unfortunately, whilst being pretty darn solid, Avowed was sort of quaint in comparison. On PS5 though, it could find a fresh audience that it didn't quite get the first time around. With an already installed fanbase for The Outer Worlds and Grounded's recent success, it does confirm that there's an audience at PlayStation for the developer's output. It's hard to say though whether this one will actually migrate over. Xbox likely saw Avowed as a prestige Game Pass title, but it arrived without the buzz. If Microsoft chooses to port only proven hits, it might not make the cut. But then again, Hellblade 2's on its way to PlayStation, and that didn't exactly set the world on fire either. If Xbox really does want to continue down this path of broadening the third-party presence, then Avowed definitely has a shot. Also, the game director awkwardly shuffled in her chair when asked about it, so Number 5, State of Decay 3. Hardly a revered franchise in itself, the previous games were rough around the edges, but it's undeniably addictive once you get stuck in. The in-development latest installment, State of Decay 3, promises a brutal survival-focused experience that's built on permadeath, base management, and co-op chaos. With stronger tech, a bigger budget, and plenty of fan feedback baked into this one, the threequel really could deliver on everything it's promised. Plus, with no deep story tying players to older titles, newcomers can jump right in. The PS5 has plenty of cinematic games. What it needs is more open-ended, systems-driven survival co-op, and this one fits that gap perfectly. Though it is a bit too early to call whether this one's actually going to come over to PlayStation. The game is still in development, and Microsoft might want to decide exactly what it is they have on their hands before deciding whether they want to share it. That said, if Xbox stick to their platform expansion strategy and State of Decay 3 lands well on Game Pass, a PlayStation port isn't off the table. For now, this one feels like a wait and see. Number 4, South of Midnight. South of Midnight oozes style. Its stop-motion animation, deep southern gothic setting, and surreal vibe feel like it's output from former PlayStation first parties like Studio Japan. Visually and tonally, it really sets itself apart from other typical AAA fare, and that alone is worth celebrating in its uniqueness. PlayStation players, known for embracing story-rich, emotionally resonant games, might connect with this one even more than Xbox's traditional core. It didn't make much noise at launch, but a second wind on PS5 could unlock the audience it deserves. At this stage, it's another wait and see. Xbox has tested the waters with low-risk Game Pass exports like Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, but recent reports suggested those efforts weren't exactly the financial wins they'd hoped for. South of Midnight does fit into a similar category. It's artistically very interesting, but perhaps a little commercially niche, so that might play into the decision-making. If Xbox leans further into publishing prestige indie light fare across platforms, it could sneak its way onto PS5, but if the numbers don't add up, it might stay locked behind the Game Pass vault. Number 3. Rise, Son of Rome. Visually stunning and packed with cinematic flair, Rise, Son of Rome was a really odd launch title that felt like it would have been more at home on the PlayStation. And for any gamers who know their Kratos from their Kronos, it was a clear attempt to give the rival crowd a God of War style crunchy experience. Its quick-time heavy combat, dramatic storytelling, and linear structure landed flat with critics in 2013, but over time, reception has definitely warmed. In the age of remakes and reappraisals, Rise now looks like a game that was simply released at the wrong time and on the wrong platform. Given the PS5's love for cinematic third-person action games, it could finally find the audience it always wanted. That said, while the game's visuals still hold up, it doesn't exactly have the critical acclaim or franchise backing to justify a big port push. Crytek owns the IP, not Microsoft, which also adds extra red tape. Unless a remaster or sequel is announced, with only vague murmurings of Rise 2 in the works back in 2021, Rise will probably remain a relic of the Xbox One era. Number 2. Fable Reboot. Once a crown jewel of Xbox's first-party lineup, Fable captured hearts with its charming British humour, choice-driven morality system, and whimsical fantasy world. But after Lionhead's closure and a string of cancelled spin-offs, Fable plus Connect, anyone? The franchise faded into myth. Now Playground Games is breathing new life into it with a reboot that promises to have modern polish, but keeping that playful soul intact. It's the perfect time for Fable to rise again, and PlayStation players, long deprived of the series, would likely embrace its mix of action, comedy, and consequence-driven gameplay. Probably not on day one, though. This reboot is being positioned as a prestige Xbox exclusive, and Microsoft won't want to share it straight out the gate, but maybe a few months down the line, if we've learned anything from Indy and his great circle. Also, rumors have been cooking from reliable sources that the concept is very much on the table, with the game's delay into 2026 being applied due to the process of developing it on multiple platforms. So is a PS5 port one of those multiple platforms that might be brewing in the stew? Hopefully. God knows we need some good news out of Xbox, so fingers crossed. Number 1. Sunset Overdrive. Wild, loud, and unapologetically chaotic, there are a bunch of ways in which Sunset Overdrive feels like a PlayStation game that just ended up on the wrong console. Developed exclusively by Insomniac before they went full Sony, it's the spiritual predecessor to their Spider-Man series, and you can feel it in the traversal, the swagger, and the biting desire to do everything on its open-world map. The game never got the love it deserved on Xbox, but its cult following has only grown. On PS5, with proper marketing and the built-in goodwill Insomniac now commands, Sunset Overdrive could finally find the mainstream success that it always deserved. This is a funny one though in terms of what happens with the legalities, because Insomniac owns the IP, which means Sony owns the IP, but Microsoft published the original. That means a re-release would require corporate gymnastics, to put it lightly. Add to that the fact that it sold poorly the first time around, with the Insomniac leak displaying it only pushed a painful 1.9 million units since 2014, and that's another problem. Still, if Sony ever want to build out Insomniac's legacy library or bundle it into a Spider-Man adjacent promotion, the opportunity's there. It's a long shot, but it's not impossible, especially if enough fans make noise. Let's hope the franchise hasn't had the sunset on it, but maybe if we're lucky, that could be up to us.